Varlamore, the huge expansion that we've just had, is having quite an impact on the marketplace with huge price rises and price falls. Firstly, the Saradomin Godsword, which whilst it isn't essential to completing the Coliseum, by using the special attack with this weapon on the archer restores a lot of prayer and a lot of health. Using it will probably result in a couple of extra brews when you reach the final boss, which is pretty massive. As a result, it went up 19 million GP in just a couple of days, from 25 million up to 44. Now it has since been dropping in price and currently trading at just under 36 million, but keep an eye on that one because it will be interesting to see if it recovers or if it's just an item people buy for the Coliseum, get the quiver and then throw it back on the GE. The weapon that has undoubtedly benefited the most from speculation alone had its first real update here. The scythe is best in slot for the larger creatures as well as the boss, taking it to 1.23 billion GP, the highest that it has ever been. That is almost 3 times the price it was just 12 months ago, but it has just started to drop a little bit in price, although that is pretty normal to happen a week or so after a big price rise. It's going to have its biggest test now though. It's been rising previously because of our promise of more content for the scythe, and now that it has some of it, we'll start to find its true price, and that could be much higher or much lower. I was really surprised to see this next one, because we've now got a way to train prayer in a completely different way. Mining the calcified deposits inside Camtorum will give you blessed bone shards instead of ores, and these give you prayer XP. You bless jugs of wine here, and then you use those with the bone shards at the Liberation Bowl just to the north. It's essentially free prayer XP and quite a lot of it. When I tested this one, I got 2,760 prayer XP from doing 8,463 XP's worth of mining, which means if you did that method until 99 mining, you'd also get 88 prayer for free, well, for the cost of a few thousand jugs of wine. And that's not all. Thieving Houses gives you these shards too, as well as completing Hunter Rumors and the chest in Perilous Moons. So you'd expect bones would be crashing in price right now, right? But since the expansion, they've instead been going up, and all I can put that down to is the fact that you can also bless any bone here, use a chisel on them and make them into shards. Training prayer that way is slightly cheaper, about 13 GP per XP, rather than 15 GP using a gilded altar when using dragon bones. I think over time though, depending on inflation, prayer will become a lot cheaper now that we have access to what appears to be a good training method that gives free prayer XP at the same time. Speaking of inflation, I mentioned last time that it shows no sign of letting up, and bonds are likely to just keep rising in price, but then this happened as soon as Varlamore was released. So I've been hiding since until now because they've finally gone back up in price. It's difficult to know what caused that, but old school RuneScape does have a new money or new items sync depending on how you pay for your gravestones. So far in just 11 days, the Coliseum has claimed 1.3 million lives, and probably 10% of those are me. And most of those deaths cost players 500,000 GP per each one. That works out to be 664 billion GP that's being removed from the game in either GP or items, and what a much needed item sync that is, 60 billion GP per day. The problem is that isn't likely to stay that high, since we're now getting guards, and a lot of players already have the quiver, so they're not really going to go back unless they want to do it as a moneymaker, but even still it may at least slow down inflation a little bit. However, bots bring in far more money than that, and for all of the PR lately, I had a quick check just to show that the bottom problem isn't going anywhere. Another item with a huge impact from the Coliseum is Guardian Boots, which are essentially a defensive pair of boots, and for that reason haven't been the most popular recently. But now with an Echo Crystal, a reward from the Coliseum, they can be upgraded into Echo Boots. These have a +2 prayer bonus over the Guardian Boots, but that's not the main reason why these are good. They also have a built-in Ring of Recoil effect to anything within melee distance. That means you can wear a stat bonus ring at Zulrah, plus it would be a DPS increase against anything that hits quickly or accurately, as well as many multi-combat areas. The result was initially a huge price rise to almost 11 million GP, but they've fallen off a lot since and are currently down to 5.3 mil. That being said, pretty confident that these should go up a lot more in the long term, since you get them from the Grotesque Guardians, which hardly anyone does these days, and they're a pretty rare drop. So not many more of those are going to come into the game. They are linked to the Echo Crystal however, which is an expensive item. But as people are getting better and better at the Coliseum, more and more of these will come into the game, and as we can see from the graph, the price is already down to 22 million and should continue to fall. Once they're a little bit cheaper, I think a lot of us probably end up with a pair of these in our bank, which should in theory raise the price of the Guardian boots in the future. All of the brand new armour that we got from Perilous Moons and the Coliseum continues to fall in price, but interestingly, one's already started to go back up. Now it's completely normal for the price of new items to free fall in price like this, then slow down before they find the true price, which depends on supply and demand. But there's always that one set that becomes the most popular one, similar to Arms or Barrows. Well, currently that could be the Blue Moon set, which has been up and down, but on the 26th the Tassis were 1.8 mil and now they're 5.3. The other items from that set have also gone up a lot recently, and the Spear, for example, is up from 600k to 900k. This is though currently the cheapest set out of all three, albeit only just, so it is really in the balance. But whilst the other sets are still falling in price, or at best just stable, this one is the first one to start going up. The decision to create content where bosses are increasingly weak to at least one combat style is also having a huge impact on another item, the Bellator Ring. It's crazy to think that the price of this used to be the same as the Ultra Ring. But whilst that one is 175 mil now, with us having no reason to choose accuracy over strength at the latest bosses, has seen the Bellator Ring fall to just 50 million GP. The next item is at its highest price it's been for a whole year, and it's currently trading at 134 million GP. Range is very good at the Coliseum, and since one of the modifiers makes every single creature always hit you, regardless of your defense, the Bofa hits like a truck most of the time, and the fact that it has low defense is largely irrelevant. In fact, I've even seen a lot of people using Void here for the exact same reason. The boss is also weak to slash, so if you can't afford a scythe, the same item that creates the Bofa also creates the Blade of Saldor, and the price of both of those is always connected. Finally, I've got a couple of items that I need help with, because the Harmonized Staff had this crazy price rise and then price crash afterwards, which reminded me of the Ellie a month or so back, but I haven't read anything at all that would cause that to happen, so what am I missing? And also the Abyssal Dagger. I did a guide on just completing wave 1 of the Coliseum, which is currently 5 million GP per hour, and I was wondering if it was being used for that, but since the DDS hits higher, I'm not really sure. So if you do know why, please let me know in the comments.